right, well, let's go ahead. If we're good, we'll go ahead and get started. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right, just to keep, we have a big agenda today to get through. Again, welcome everyone to our quarterly executive council meeting for the Chicago Wilderness Alliance here. It's great to see so many leaders in the region of our partners that have joined us and made time for this meeting this morning, and some faces that we haven't seen in a while and new faces. We welcome you. We are so glad you're here. And you're going to hear about today all the great work that the Alliance has been engaged with, and a little bit of background. We are an alliance aligned for action, and a lot of great things that have been happening over the last year, and which is building up to what we're in the process of accomplishing this year and the years to come forward. So I will call this morning's meeting to order. My name is Elizabeth Kessler. For those that don't know who I am the Executive Director of the McHenry County Conservation District in Northeast Illinois, and serving as the chair of the Chicago Wilderness Alliance. So to move as our first order of business, again, please go ahead and put your name in the chat of your organization, just so we can capture those for our minutes. Jim Anderson serves on the steering committee, and he is our secretary. And of course, I know he appreciates that, right, Jim? To capture all of that. All right, so we have our agenda for this morning, and our first action of business is to accept the agenda as presented. Do we have that to be moved?
So moved.
Thank you, Ralph.
Second, Jim Anderson.
Jim seconded. Okay, all right. Any discussion or anything else to be added to this morning's agenda? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving this morning's agenda, motion by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Okay, this morning's agenda is approved. Our second order is we have our consent agenda. These are our standing items that we do present quarterly for transparency for the Alliance. At any time, once we move these, a motion in a second, then we can discuss them. We have our treasurer's report for January, February, March, our first quarter for fiscal year 2023. And with that, if you've received the documentation, the Alliance is in great standing as far as our total liabilities and net assets that we have currently $420,802.68 at the end of March. We have our executive session minutes for our last meeting on January 18th. And we'd like to welcome two members, All Nature Preserves and Northwest Indiana Regional Resilience, to become members of the Chicago, or partners of the Chicago Wilderness Alliance. So if I could have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Moved by Schultz.
Thank you, Ralph. Do I have a second?
Seconded by Nathaniel.
Nathaniel, thank you so much. All right, any further discussion on the consent agenda items? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, motion by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Okay, the consent agenda is approved, and let's welcome our two new partners to the Alliance, All Nature Preserves and Northwest Indiana Region Resilience. Thank you for being with us and joining us. Okay, our next item is the strategic work plan and an alliance that is aligned for action. That action is our word for the year. And I do want to thank Michelle Carr. She is with us from the Nature Conservancy. As you know, she has stepped up to serve in the role as vice chair, and she hosted the steering committee back in February at their beautiful new offices. Thank you so much for your team for allowing us the space to touch down and to work through this, as well as the members of the steering committee that came around and spent the day to really dive into our work and kind of to identify some areas of focus that we want to. Today's purpose is to go into detail with this with everyone on the executive council. We have shared this with our GVI co-leads and did receive their feedback, and we're interested in your feedback. so that if there is positioning, are we on target with these items that we've identified? Is there something else that we're not addressing that we need to? We want to have you share that with us. So we'll go through it first. It was in your packet, and then have any questions we can answer and have a dialogue. So Lake, thank you. Lake is one of our new interns who is joining us, and actually is one of the successes out of the retreat. Again, TNC with the volunteer and working with us is DePaul, correct, Lake? That you're with us? Do you want to give us just a little bit of background about yourself to the group, if you don't mind?
Yeah, hi. I just graduated recently from DePaul with my degree in public relations and advertising with a minor in environmental communication. So I just started this internship through DePaul, and I'm really excited to get started and work with everybody. And it's been a really great experience so far. So sorry.
We are so
Yeah.
glad you're here. So you'll hear more about Lake's work and how that worked out. But thank you, Lake, so much. So
Yeah.
Lake, if you could advance to the next slide, please. And Michelle, please feel free to jump in at any time here. I did prepare just to go over this. So we focused on a variety of different conversations during this meeting. Primarily, the top 5 was our Green Vision initiatives, which we've been working on with Bold Bison. Our JEDI work that's being led started out, as you know, with Cream City Conservation and helping us guide our work, and now has transferred over into our working group here as part of Goal 5 with Danny and Raquel. The PCI marketing and branding report, we hired them last year to assist us in developing a wonderful plan in our new branding, which we launched at Congress. So we wanted to take a look at what was left in the work plan to be done for the recommendations. We talked about funding and then just general governance issues. Okay, next slide, Lee. Okay. For the Green Vision initiatives, and these are just high level, we wanted to ensure, which we had already been doing, that we standardize the work plan among our variety of teams of our initiatives. And so with Bold Bison's work with Brandon, that is a project that is to be completed by the May of this year with the priorities and metrics for measurement, and that would outline their, for the next 3 years. So that is very clear and consistent, and in a format using a template, almost like a PowerPoint slide, so that everybody can kind of see these, and we can use this to be transparent, and it's very clear of where we're headed. One of the other areas that came out was to reestablish a Green Vision Initiative Coordinating Council with co-leads from each of the team. Now, the steering committee meets on a monthly basis, and we've been inviting our Green Vision co-leads have joined us for that meeting, but we feel there would be value in those groups meeting among themselves. Some were doing it organically, but a more formalized version back to when the Chicago Wilderness in the past, it had a coordinating council, but this be a very focused group with the GVIs, team leads, and again, finding a way to balance their time commitment so that it's not necessarily monthly, but it meets in a pattern that still allows time to cross-pollinate with the steering committee and is very conscientious of everybody's volunteer efforts. And so, so that was, so today we would hope to, if there is agreement here, to move that forward, set a date, and let that group get going and establish that back. Cross-cutting themes with the GVI teams, we found that in many of the areas there was overlap, and so an icon be developed that would appear on the work plan and on areas to where there's an opportunity to kind of merge and forge relationships across the different goal teams. The hub that was created for the dashboard, and we hope to expand upon that, and that be the location for the metrics and a report out. So an easy place that we've been promoting, great work through the Field Museum, Mark and everybody else that's been working on that. We feel that this is an opportunity and some additional work that's planned for the year ahead to update a dashboard with all the information that is being produced and shared as a way to measure how we're moving with our initiatives. Reformatting, like I said, the steering committee monthly meetings, respecting individual capacity, particularly with the Green Vision coordinating council, and then ensuring that there's enough time, because we all have our full-time jobs and other pieces to do. And in Chicago Wilderness, everybody leans into that. So we really need to be respectful. Also to reestablish the green, reestablish Green Vision Initiative Coordinating Council with co-leads. That's a duplicate. My bad on the slide. Next, please. Okay, for our Jedi work, the ambassadors, what we really want all of our partners to be doing, as well as steering committee members and co-leads, is to have the Jedi completed by your organizations. This will create a benchmark and a baseline for the work that they're doing, and just to champion the Jedi work. Incorporating, the next item was to incorporate the Jedi roadmap, our engagement, accessibility, and advocacy through all of the initiatives in our work streams. So to keep that top of mind as each of the groups work towards their goals. To create space to share resources online with our partners, best practices and examples. And so as we bring in more individuals and new partners to our work, as well as members from our organizations, we want to ensure that they have time to be present. They may not know everyone. I know a Zoom online community has made it a little bit challenging to build relationships, but just to pause and spend time and to lead them and allow them to not only be at the table, but to have a voice and to be able to participate. We're also committing, the thought was to review our policies and procedures to ensure Jedi is incorporated in all that we do, and then explore adding that Jedi principles to the Dr. George B. Rabb Force of Nature Award, and then the Excellence in Ecological Site Accreditation Program. And then commit to conducting another Jedi audit in 3 years. Okay, next slide. Under the PCI marketing and branding report, we want to prepare and solicit an RFP for implementation for report items on 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And so that document is available, but it included items of working on our website, a social media plan, building up a communications committee, a digital asset database, and then of our photography, and then also outreach that we would need to be doing for partnership recruitment and cultivation. So we feel that an RFP could assist us with that. The website was an area that seemed to be a priority, that we need to get an online tool that provided all the necessary information, our e-news and things that need to be improved. So that was a commitment for that. The pursuing of the digital asset management program, we thought it would be of value to share photography and work across our partners and get the sign-off so that that could be used and shared, and to help promote the diversity, not only of the 4-state region, but of our partnership members. Listing volunteers with marketing communication to assist us with our work. This is really key. And having Lake with us is one example, has come on board, but we need more individuals with experience, and particularly someone potentially sitting on the steering committee as we work to fill a seat geographically through Jedi principles as well, but also someone with that experience will help us as we move on these initiatives. And then continue conversation and dedicate time at future meetings for discussions on retention, prospecting, onboarding, and engagement of new and existing partners, corporate counsel, and then emerging professionals, since our primary focus has been the practitioner base, as PCI had identified. Next slide, please. For funding, we've established a funding committee, working group of the steering committee with others to kind of evaluate grants and opportunities that are beyond what we receive currently and through our partnership dues. And there was a commitment and a decision that was recommended by the steering committee that we would only seek funding for core work and initiatives that would benefit the entire Chicago Wilderness Alliance. And that would be an example, investing in a website or investing in a digital asset repository for our information, or if we're working on like the climate action plan for nature that you're going to hear about this morning. That would be something that crosses over the work of the Alliance versus a specific project for maybe one or two partners. This addresses the issue of competitive nature. So that was why that decision was advanced and recommended. The Chicago Wilderness Alliance would educate and share resources on federal, state, and private grant opportunities. Again, we're making that available through our portal, not to duplicate efforts. There are a lot of grant sites or areas of our partners that are capturing that information, but what we feel that we can do well is we can share that information that's out there and make it available on timing when NOFOs come out, et cetera. We can play that role. We would also, one of the things, and this has already started, was the Chicago Wilderness Alliance to provide letters of support to partners that are submitting to grants that are aligned under the Chicago Wilderness Alliance Green Vision Initiative and the Biodiversity Recovery Plan. So this was initiated. This was something that we used to do after the retreat. Now there's a spot on our website, Laura, correct, where partners can submit and
Yes, there is. And I have a slide and a link for more information about that in a few minutes. So I'll highlight everybody on that.
Terrific. So that was done and into action. And then there's just a general understanding that to do all the things that our partners would like us to do and to have the presence and just to do the day-to-day, because we only have one full-time coordinator, Laura, who does an amazing job. She's like times 10. But clearly to do the core work that we would like to do and to basically facilitate our work streams for the Alliance, it does require sustainable funding. And that's above and beyond our partnership dues if we want to expand. And we've been doing great with some of the grants and funding that we've received over the last several years, and hope to hear some positive word too on some funding that we have applied for some of our core work. But we just acknowledge that. And then to capture in-kind match of all the work that's being done by our partners. So when we do apply for funds, that we fully can leverage the work that's going on. Next slide, please. Okay, under general governance, one of the items that identified was clearly hearing and responding to our teams feeling capacity and how to get support, and really to identify individuals to step forward, but also to identify two co-chairs for each of the teams. That shared role, not only does it provide if someone's got a lot on their plate, that then it could be transferred over to someone else to handle, but we felt 2 was the sweet spot, not 3. And so that was an item that was identified. Also to connect our mid-career and emerging professionals with the Green Vision initiatives and core work streams. Again, as we see retirements going on, as we see those with their capacity in their organization, that we need to be bringing others forward. And again, having that space at the table, not only with new ideas, but so they can buy in and really help us advance this work from a variety of different perspectives. And that's really exciting for the Alliance. It keeps us fresh. And then establishing criteria, policy, and procedures and funding for beginning a stipend process that was recommended, again, part of our JEDI principles, but understanding that it takes time, and if we're going to diversify, that we need to support that. So we need to determine what that procedure funding and how much, but that is something that we have on the docket to be considering. And then to support, there needs to be core support for every Alliance initiative by re-engaging our partners, asking organizations to allow and permit their staff to be involved with this type of work, that it be part of their agency's work responsibilities as we begin to align that. It's not a this and, but it's something that is highly encouraged. So we would request our partners assist us with that. And then lastly, that extending the spirit of grace to self and teams. There was a lot of discussion on this. If a team isn't advancing as far as another team, then that was becoming that not a sense of failure, but it was becoming frustrating. And so we just need to understand that we're human. There's a lot going on, and it's a busy world. And we just have to say, it's okay. You know, a group may go faster at another time, others may have time to do more, and it just all balances at the end. But to acknowledge that we're a network of volunteer partners. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I thought we were about done. We're not. Okay, an externship program for mid-career and emerging professionals is an idea that would assist in that career pathing. We want to recruit Michigan and Wisconsin partners to the steering committee, GVI teams, and other teams. We've seen great emergence of Indiana and them coming on board, but we need to extend that further if we're going to represent the 4 states, and having a seat on the steering committee would be helpful. So we're looking for others to identify and bring those individuals on board. And then make contact information for all leadership to make sure that's easily accessible for all our partners and individuals that are involved with us. Role of the steering committee is to help make connections from a 35,000-foot view so our co-leads can achieve the priorities and maintain transparency. And so really we're here to assist and to enlist in whatever we can do to help each team be successful. Another idea that came out was to explore an event meeting planner for the Congress, because we identified from last year our success, but how much time and effort it took to produce an event such as that. So maybe there's a synergy of sharing someone, particularly with Wild Things, because they have those similar issues. And then lastly, to host a meeting with executives and leaders of traditional and non-traditional organizations and corporations to update the state of Chicago Wilderness Alliance, of where we are and where we've come, and how we are an alliance that's aligned to move forward with great effort and success. Okay, with that, Michelle, I'm going to lean into you. I covered these because I prepared this. Anything else that you want to add to the conversation? Then I'll open the floor for discussion.
Sure. Elizabeth, thank you for carrying the water and for asking me. I have nothing to add. You were so thorough and a great reflection of our retreat. Thank you.
So let me open the floor for discussion with any of our partners from what you've heard in areas of leaning in, what you think we hit the spot. Did we hit the target? Did an area we need to tweak or other ideas that maybe we didn't identify?
I'll just say that one of the things that I know I'm personally appreciating is the clarity around funding and the notion that you know how we will fund ourselves as an alliance, and also you know, do shared items. So I just thought that was nice to get that clarity out there, because I've often gotten that question that, you know, we're working in alliance, will we be competing for funding? And that is not the case. We're trying to bring more funding for all.
Anyone else? Reflections, thoughts?
Yeah, this is Daniel. Hi, everybody. I really appreciate the point about kind of extending grace to the teams and letting them work at their own speed. You know, I know within the CWA Ag team, which is still relatively new, with a lot of new partners having their first contact with CW Alliance through us. It's taking some time for folks to kind of understand how Chicago Wilderness has worked before, and kind of how we all fire on all cylinders and kind of maximize our work by amplifying things that are happening on a small scale to a larger scale. So we still need some time to build that up, and I appreciate that everyone's not on the same timeline. And I think, you know, tied in with what Michelle was just saying with the funding piece, I think if CW is able to secure some funding that can help provide some extra capacity and support for the teams, that some of those teams that might be moving a little bit slower might catch up a little bit. So really appreciate that consideration.
Thank you, Daniel. Anyone else?
This is Jim Anderson. I would say that the strategic retreat, it would be good to share these slides with everybody, the slide deck, so that everybody gets and or the report. I think everybody really jumped in and immersed themselves in the process. And so I think there's a lot of good things here. And I think the biggest takeaway from all this is, hey, we need a lot of people to assist us and think about how we're going to tackle these things. And we can do it with funding, we can do it with volunteers, we can do it with engaging agencies and things like that. But I think it was really great. I really think we want to keep building on this and keep these that plan as a strategic guide for us. You know, I remember someone telling me that they would, in their office, there was the motto for the organization. And so I think this should get posted on your wall and always be, you know, along with 30 by 30 and a couple other things, but, you know, have it in the forefront that, you know, this is really important what we're doing. And so I just want to make sure that everybody thinks about that as going into the future.
Thank you, Jim. And we will definitely have the slides and the minutes, and then the report. We can place the report even out there. It was available in the pack, but we'll make sure it's easily accessible. And then I think the next step, if I'm correct with the steering committee, if there is concurrence here, you know, that what we want to do is prioritize some of these. We need to prioritize things we're already moving on. That was what I like to call low-hanging fruit. We jumped on it, we moved. Other things may take a little bit of time, but they are all moving. And particularly the PCI, unpacking the work that needs to be done with that RFP. We had high hopes that we would have something to present out of the February retreat and to have something to say on the road here. We did start some work with PCI to have them scope on potentially assisting with that process. And so we're going to continue on with that, and we'll likely have something to bring back to the group in July when we meet for our next quarterly meeting. Okay, anything else before? And then I think we just out of this too, we start that GBI coordinating council, and we get that rolling with some dates, and then also get a subgroup to begin working on the stipends, because I think that was another high level area that we wanted to do. And you'll hear more about some of these other things that we're working on as the meeting goes forward. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, steering committee, for contributing.
Elizabeth, Susan had a question.
Oh, please, Susan.
Oh, it wasn't so much a question, but just a genuine thank you to everyone for the thoughtful work on this. This is what makes CW, I can't believe I'm using the acronym, Chicago Wilderness, is such a great collaboration. So thank you. I know that a lot of time and thought was invested in this.
Thank you, Susan.
I'd like to put in the minutes that we have concurrence. Is that the gist of this group here of the executive council? We could just do a thumbs up. Everybody wants. Okay, great. I'm taking no negatives. So
Everybody's looking for their thumbs. Just wave, you know.
Yeah. It's pretty
Old-fashioned video.
Right.
great.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Jim. Thank you. So concurrence to move this forward. Wonderful. And we will do that. All right. I am then going to turn it over. Brandon, thank you for your continued leadership. We're so glad you're with us and the work that's being done. So I'm turning the next section over to you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. If we can get the next slide. Thank you. Always branded, love the bison for Bold Bison, and really thrilled to update you on where the work plan is going in 2023. Elizabeth referred to the tool that we're using to guide and share the work plan, and that's what we'll be using to talk it through this morning. And I know we have a few of the initiative team leads on the call with us today. So looking at you, Daniel, looking at you, Danny. So, you know, please, I'm going to pass it off to you when we get to your parts of the work plan and your initiatives, because we'd rather hear from you than hear from me. But let's let's get started with the next slide. Some of you have seen this tool, but this is a framing device tool that we're using, again, that Elizabeth mentioned, to guide our work and capture the highest level priorities that have the most energy for each of the green initiatives. This is part of a much bigger tool. The 7 slides that you'll see right now are part of a much bigger tool that allows around each of these areas with energy for folks to get into more detail. But the idea is to be able to capture in this consistent, systemized way the status of sort of that highest level, work that is, the biggest priority for, either currently or the next, few months, 6 months, 8 months in the future. It's an acknowledgement that not everything that's going to get us where we want to be by 2030 can be captured, has all that same energy or is a priority at the moment. But again, that idea of moving into action, prioritizing the work, and this is helping us do that. So using quickly the Managing Healthy Landscapes slide as a way of reading this and sort of seeing this is, that these are the 3 areas that Patty and the team with Managing Healthy Landscapes have identified as being both priorities and also where there is energy to move work forward, in the immediate future. And that's why we use that terminology of energy around there, because if we think about priorities, there are a lot of priorities might not have the energy or the capacity at the moment to move that forward in this sort of highest level. So again, just to see what you're seeing at a glance. They had their last cafe was on January 17th. That's captured. Who the team lead is captured on each of these. And then you see that these are the 3 areas. In particular, there's the Prescribed Burn Initiative that's being led by the Forest Preserves of Cook County. And you see, a little bit about that work. What's the timeline for moving it forward? What's the estimated cost? Who is the audience and key partners? What are the next steps in the immediate future? In the full version of this work plan, this slide is followed by a slide specifically around the Prescribed Burn Initiative and each of the other ones with more detail. And those are things that can be shared out. But part of what we're doing here is this format to be able to capture the highest level for each of the initiative teams for exactly this context, for presenting to partners, for presenting to the Executive Council, a way to synchronize all of the work. You'll also see a lot of work moving forward that Patty herself is leading around a cooperative weed management area, including an estimated cost of the project of getting that going. You see that, and that's a big important piece that we're capturing, and not the budget for it, but what the actual cost is. And that's how we're trying to think about what that might be. So we can see where there might be opportunities for funding around the various things that are being captured in the work plans. Again, the target audience is the next steps, some notes on recruitment to the initiative, and then, what are the closest areas of synchronicity among the other initiative teams? They're captured at the bottom. We won't look at it right now because we're going to go quickly sort of through the update. But again, if anyone wants to see the full version of the work plan with the additional slides with more detail, happy to share that in the chat. And actually, Laura, if you don't mind doing that, or Lake would greatly appreciate that. I don't think Patty's on the call. So we're going to move on to the next initiative. So next slide, please. Daniel is on the call. And again, the teams are in different sort of levels of filling this out. We are asking folks, we haven't met in detail with the Growing with Agriculture team to walk them through. The last initiative team we need to walk through using the tool. But we do have a cafe on the books for Growing with Agriculture. Please do join us on May 16th. You see the date there for their cafe. And I'll turn it over to Daniel to give us an update about where the Growing with Agriculture team is.
Thanks, Brandon. Yes, and do not take the emptiness of this slide to mean that we're not actively meeting and talking on a number of issues. So I guess the biggest update right now is that on the heels of a very successful 2022 Will County Agriculture Field Day, we're currently in the process of planning a Kane County Field Day that will likely happen at some point this August. Final date to be announced as they're still connecting with local producers to kind of plot out the agenda for the day. But we had a planning call about 2 weeks ago, and it's the challenge here is finding the time to hit all of the different producers' farms that we want to visit. There's just so much innovative stuff happening in Kane County. I think it's going to be really eye-opening for a lot of folks in August. So there's a lot of effort right around that. Janice Hill, Maggie Solis, Patrick McPartland, Ben Haberther, other Kane County-based folks are really leading that effort. So big thank you to them. We've also just recently split up the CW Ag team into a couple of subcommittees. So we've got a biodiversity subcommittee, which is looking at things like increasing biodiversity on the farm through practices that not necessarily new and innovative practices, but looking to the past for things like hedgerows, agroforestry, prairie strips, and things like that. There's another subcommittee that's focused on infrastructure. So looking at what is the infrastructure needed on the farm to help facilitate not just more individuals taking up sustainable, regenerative, biodiverse friendly practices, but how regionally, what could be placed regionally that could encourage new adoption of more biodiverse practices. So there's a lot of really good stuff happening right now, a lot of irons in the fire, and we're going to be meeting. We have this structure right now where we meet as a full team in the even numbered months. So February, April, next one will be in June, and our subcommittees meet in the odd numbered months. And so our next subcommittee meeting will be coming up on May the 9th, I believe. Coming up on May 9th. So if anyone is interested, we meet at the same time every month, alternating between subcommittee and full teams, second Tuesday of the month from 1 to 2 p.m. So please let me or Tim Brennan know if you're interested.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Next slide, please. Great, prioritizing green infrastructure. The biggest piece of work that happened was, as you see there, the Chicago meeting on March 29th at UIC for the Growing Chicago Habitats meeting. And that is where a major piece of the energy around sort of everything with Growing Chicago Habitats is where the attention of the green infrastructure team is. And in particular, they are keeping an eye on specific federal funding through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. So you see that there as another one of their key priorities. And they are working, and also the America the Beautiful Act too. So they're in all of the sort of federal funding opportunities. It's something that they're looking at in particular around the Growing Chicago Habitats concept and that initiative and that idea moving forward. So there's a major piece of energy around that for this team right now. There's also a lot of energy, particularly from Maggie, one of the co-chairs on this team, of better connecting this team with the water team, in particularly with sort of the data efforts that are coming from the water team, which we'll talk about when we get to Initiative 7. But that is in a nutshell where this team is, and we are working on getting a date on the books for sort of what's next in the Growing Chicago Habitats project as their cafe for this initiative. So we're looking for either late May or early June for that cafe, and those conversations are ongoing. Next slide, please. Protecting landscapes from biodiversity conservation. So I don't think Kathy or Ben is on here, and Debbie Moskowitz is a great benefit and asset to this initiative, although she is not technically one of the two co-chairs, but she is very actively helping move this forward. So do need to give a shout out to her. For this one, the most important and exciting sort of, you're hearing about this here first in terms of the actual date, is this idea of convening the land trusts who are working across the Chicago Wilderness region. So, in the past, we've had land trust gatherings that were centered on Illinois with Vital Lands Illinois. We clearly have Prairie State Conservation Coalition in Illinois, Gathering Waters in Wisconsin, sort of moving the land trust together in terms of thinking collectively about those individual states. But one of the things that there's a lot of energy around with this initiative is thinking about, how land trusts across the Chicago Wilderness region can collaborate, can take better opportunities, for funding, for collaboration, for sort of, helping, get that land conserved as we look toward 2030 and the 30 by 30 initiative. So save the date. Anyone who, particularly if you are part of a land trust, connected to a land trust, on the board of a land trust, on the staff of a land trust, that we have reserved May 17th at Thatcher Woods. It will be a most of the day event in person there. And again, the priority here is land trusts. So trying to get as much representative from the land trusts in the region as possible there in person, for some deep conversation, sort of visioning, strategy planning, and sort of thinking about how we can work more collaboratively together. And lunch will be provided. We decided as of yesterday. So we're going to begin to get information out about that. That estimated cost is not the cost of participation. The cost of participation is free. That's sort of the estimated budget for thinking about lunch that we're going to buy for folks. So again, that cost is not what it would cost to participate. Cost to participate is gratis. And we are going to get that invitation sent out to sort of a priority list of land trusts across the region this afternoon is the plan. So again, May 17th at Thatcher Woods, if you are connected to a land trust and you want to participate, please let us know even in the chat. We'll make sure you get added to that invitation list that we're going to send out this afternoon. But very excited to, think about coordination, with land trusts, and also all the way up to, our partners of the Land Trust Alliance and folks for the Midwest, and down sort of the folks who are doing the work on the ground. So we're really, really, really excited to be convening this on May 17th. Next slide, please. Danny, I believe you are here on the call. So if you're able to, I would love to turn it over to you to talk about increasing equitable access to nature.
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, Brandon. And I just want to say again, thanks for creating this framework and putting it together. It's been incredibly helpful. I know Radhika and I both feel that way. It's been awesome to use this. So for Initiative 5, we've really been working predominantly right now and reworking our goals and strategies to be more actionable. The language we had developed a couple of years ago was just kind of stalling us a bit. We had a lot of very lofty goals and strategies outlined that we really had no way of meeting as a network of volunteers, and also just within our, what was within our power. And so Radhika and I have been working on kind of fine tuning based on kind of this idea of where is the energy of what the more actionable working groups within our initiative will be. And we'll be introducing those at our next quarterly meeting in May, which we're really excited about. And it'll also help us move forward some of the other JEDI work, which gets to our next point of focusing on JEDI resource sharing and community engagement best practices. So integrating some of the components of the JEDI Roadmap Committee into Initiative 5. They'll be integrated into all of our initiatives, but starting here because there's already so much overlap. And then the continued development of this emerging professional series, which we had our first cafe earlier this month. And it was really fantastic. I think we got a lot of great feedback and had a lot of great interactions. So excited to see how that continues to develop. But ultimately, the goals and strategies of our team will kind of align with these energy areas. One, the first focusing on, how we share out these community engagement best practices that are coming forward, both through conversations and through the JEDI audit, which we conducted. And if you have yet to fill it out, you can still fill it out. That information is still helpful to us. And then also the continued development of the emerging professional series, as well as another group, a third working group we'll have that focuses more on coordinating across the and Green Vision initiatives to collaborate more and to integrate the JEDI practices initiative-wide or alliance-wide. But yeah, that's all there is to that.
Excellent. Thank you, Danny. Next slide, please. Taking climate action. I wish Ted were on here because there's so much energy in taking climate action. You see that synchronicity among teams across sort of all 7 of the initiatives. But a big sort of overarching theme for this initiative under Ted's leadership is exactly that, is thinking about how best the Taking Climate Action initiative can coordinate with the other initiatives, and sort of when there might be capacity in the climate team to be able to move things forward where there may not be, as much capacity or energy in another team. The Riverside, I'll draw your attention to the Riverside, Illinois at the upper right, C4 Climate Planning Initiative with Urban Efficiency Group. This is sort of a key piece that they're moving forward at sort of the community level. I'll also call your attention to the upper left, the Climate Action Plan for Nature and Community Input. And I will actually just briefly mention that we're going to hear more about that later on today's agenda. So again, that is something that's moving forward that you're going to hear about a little bit more on today's agenda. And then also at the lower left, the grants and policy connections. So really kind of working deeply, part of the letter, sort of, submitting letters of support initiative that you heard about was moved forward by Alicia, with some involvement from TED. So sort of really keeping their eye on a lot of the federal funding that's coming down, where the grants, that can be tied into, because a lot of them are related to climate initiatives, particularly the things that are coming down from the EPA. So they have their eyes on a lot here. Their cafe was very successful back on the 27th of January. And they're just basically rocking and rolling and moving this stuff forward. So you see, the update here, you have the link to the work plan for more detail in the chat. So let's move on to water, number 7. Excellent. The biggest sort of piece of news around protecting healthy water is that with Matthew Santagata's departure from Open Lands, there's the will for him to continue in his co-chair role here for the initiative, but it's a little bit TBD in terms of whether he'll have the capacity to do that. So that's sort of a little bit of a kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with that piece in terms of leadership around this group. But what's really positive with this group is that they had a very, very successful cafe on March 21st. Hopefully many of you were able to attend it. It focused on, as you see there in sort of that first piece, that they have energy around data metrics for assessing water in the region. And they're still working on, with their meeting that's coming up on the 28th, they're going to work on filling out the work plan. But what was also really, really rich about the cafe that they did in March was the fact that they were able to use examples from our neighbors in Wisconsin, and how they were able to standardize their water data and how they think about data and how they think about analyzing data to some of the federal EPA standards, what the implications were, how they went about it, and how they use data on the ground. And it really did move multiple goals forward because it was an example of a successful sort of implementation of thinking about some of that water data work that we can think about for the other 3 states that are part of the Chicago Wilderness Alliance. And it also really activated and sort of solidified some really great connections with our alliance members in Wisconsin. And I know I'll give a quick shout out to Jim Anderson, who was instrumental in making some of those connections to have them involved with the cafe. So it really was a very rich cafe. If you weren't able to attend it, I do encourage you to go and watch the video from the cafe. It really was sort of an example of sort of exactly what the potential of the Chicago Wilderness Alliance is across multiple states. So again, they're meeting on the 28th. They're thinking about their next steps. They definitely are thinking about sort of how to use data most effectively as being a really kind of key strategy for the next few months. And that ties in, as you can imagine, to everything from from the climate action plan to nature to, growing Chicago habitats and sort of all sorts of other pieces of the other initiatives that you've heard about. I will make a quick note in the next slide, although we're moving sort of out of my area, but there is so next slide, please. In the initiative work plan slide deck that we're using for building this, we decided that there is the need for a section for the hub, so that we're able to have them capturing sort of their priorities and sort of their most important upcoming strategic initiatives. And again, part of the point of this And if you look at the full work plan, is that so folks can see the work of the other pieces of the initiatives, the other pieces of the Chicago Wilderness Alliance, sort of all in one place. And so having a space for the hub team to be able to work is really a priority. And the Bold Bison team is meeting with the Marks on Friday morning to talk in some detail about moving forward, capturing their work and their work plans and their priorities. So that in a nutshell is where we are in terms of the initiatives. Would love to open up. I think we have a few minutes. Yeah, we have maybe about 5-7 minutes for questions. Any questions for me that I'm able to answer? Any questions, particularly for Danny and Daniel also, because they're here to represent their initiatives. But happy to open the floor. And maybe we could bump back to maybe one of the initiatives that has stuff filled out. Perfect. Thank you. Great. Yeah, we'll stick with climate. There's a lot to absorb on this sheet.
I have a question for Danny. Danny, could you talk a little bit more about what would be helpful for organizations on this call with respect to your efforts with emerging professionals? Maybe just talk a little bit about like what you all are convening around.
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies for not going into more detail on that in the first place. It's been one of those things I've talked about in so many CW meetings. I forget that not everybody is on every call, doesn't have the same information. But basically the intention with the Emerging Professional series is multifold. One is to bring in a new generation of folks to the Alliance. We talk a lot about wanting to kind of regrow our network and have more members joining. And I think I think we can all agree a super underrepresented group in this Alliance is emerging professionals, young professionals, people entering the field from different career paths, as well as folks just graduating and starting out for on their first few years of their jobs. So it's and the intention is to try and get a pulse of how we can be better supporting people who are in that phase of their career as well, as an Alliance with the resources that we have, what kinds of networking events are helpful, what kinds of meetings, so we're in the phase now of kind of gathering that information based on that first event. But what you can expect to see more of from us is more cafes having these networking opportunities, probably having some working groups around, resume workshopping, knowing what to look for within certain aspects of the field when it comes to job descriptions, ways to promote yourself for certain roles. We had a really great cafe earlier this month that actually both Brandon and myself spoke at, just with respect to our professions and our journeys in our field. And then we had breakout rooms folks were able to ask us questions specific to our fields and our experience. And it was super helpful, I think, for me also to get a pulse from people of like the struggles they were facing in finding jobs right now. I have a sense of that just knowing a lot of people who are starting out in this field. But it's also helpful information, I think, to be taking back to organizations. So, as we get more information and feedback from folks and from people trying to navigate careers in this field, I know we have a lot of folks here who get frustrated with the hiring process saying, oh, we're hiring for all these jobs, but we can't find candidates. We're going to have a lot of really great information for you on why that may be. What is it that people are frustrated with in the job search process? What are they looking for in terms of support from organizations, and kind of helping to create a bit of give and take on both sides there, both for the emerging professionals and for the more established and senior level management positions to get a bit more dialogue. So that's kind of one of the big hopes of it, is getting that level of engagement and navigating that together. So I hope that answers some of it, but I'm not sure. I think we recorded that session as well, Laura. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
I just got the recording in the chat. And I will get it on the website. We're currently working on updating the website for that as well.
Amazing.
Any other questions about any of the green initiatives?
Definitely just want to chime in really quick and support and applaud all the work that you all have been doing, especially you, Danny, and the emerging leaders, professionals area. That's definitely a huge concept that we're kind of grasping hold of at Urban Efficiency Group and C4, the Cross Community Climate Collaborative. We actually have a Green Town Climate and Equity Summit on June 22nd. really focusing on sustainability, solidarity amongst communities, businesses, the next generation specifically. We will have an emerging leaders plenary session. So if you all have any youth groups that you're connected to, this is literally an area that I really would love to partner more with you on, Danny. Have you there at the actual event and participate in as many ways as you possibly can. The idea that we need to really create these pathways for the next generation resonates with me so much, as I've always aspired to be in this profession, but literally just got here last October. So I truly understand the journey, and I'll actually just drop a couple links in the chat for you all as my email, but also information for the event as well. So just wanted to chime in there. I know I'm pretty new here, but Ted and Beth and everyone from CWA has been awesome, an awesome resource to everything that we have going on. So thank you, and I'll share those links now.
Thank you, Winton. I'll reach out to your email. We can connect.
Yeah, thank you so much, Winton. And thank you for sharing the links. Okay, we are at time, and I'll turn it back over to Elizabeth. Thank you all.
Thank you, Brandon, and all of our GVI teams, and the great work and just all it coming together so everybody can see what everybody's doing. Definitely we're aligning here, so wonderful work. All right, so we're going to get into some really deep action here with this group, and Michelle, Kristen, and I know Ted's not with us, for our climate action plan for nature and what we're doing with this. Go ahead. Michelle, did you have anything to add on back on the?
I'm sorry. I was under the impression Kristen was presenting, but I'm happy to present and add on that, on the climate action plan.
Yeah, is Kristen with us? I didn't see her. I didn't see her. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll opine a little bit about where we are. So first of all, a huge shout out goes to the Field Museum for stepping in and leaning in and finding the resources to have a dedicated person, a fantastic person, Kristen Voorhees. She's a PhD. You may have known her from her work for a number of years at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, but now she is the full-time project manager for the project Climate Action Plan for Nature. And there are several partners that have been meeting under the umbrella of the climate team, and basically sort of splitting off and workshopping what an inclusive plan would look like. And so over the next months, you'll see a series of workshops that will be taking place. There's one coming up for land managers on the 27th of April at Indiana Dunes, where we will initiate these workshops. And you know, the purpose is that we will gather this information to help understand what an updated climate action plan for nature for our region should look like, what it is time for now. And so I think that's what you need to know. We'll be sharing a lot of information, and stay tuned for invitations to workshop and invitations from Kristen, where she will ask for different levels of involvement.
Thanks, Michelle. I did drop the link to register for that workshop into the chat. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Michelle. And again, thank you for putting that into the chat. Upcoming meeting on the 27th. So again, this is an item that again, it'll get a lot of support and really will help us as we move forward. All right, the next item that we have is a discussion on our field trips. Specifically, Lydia, I believe you are here and you're going to outline the one that we have coming up in the near future.
Yes. My name is Lydia Euler. For those of you who don't know me, I'm with the Forest Preserves of Cook County. I'm helping to coordinate the CW member field trip to Beaubien Woods and the African American Heritage Water Trail along the Little Calumet River. We're working with several partners and community organizations to create an opportunity for conservation professionals to learn more about the site and, just the approach we've taken to recreation and engagement within the community and also conservation at the site. So partners helping to lead the field trip are Friends of the Chicago River, Open Lands, the Field Museum, Friends of the Forest Preserves, Chicago Adventure Therapy, and We Keep You Rollin', which is a community organization. And we also have participation from representatives from the Little Calumet Underground Railroad Project, People for Community Recovery, Imani Village, and more. The field trip is currently planned for Thursday, June 22nd, and will start at 9 a.m. and will go to about 2:30 p.m. And participants will get a choice when they register of going on a paddling tour that will explore the African American Heritage Water Trail, or they can take a bike tour to explore Beaubien Woods and then key sites in the surrounding community of Altgeld Gardens. And then after the tours, lunch will be provided, and that will allow for networking opportunities. And then following lunch, we'll have a facilitated discussion with partners who will, learn more about everything that's happening at the site, including successes and challenges and lessons learned. And then that will also be coupled with a shorter interpretive tour of some of the other site highlights, which we're still being determined. We actually have another meeting scheduled this afternoon, so we're finalizing a lot of those details, but we hope to have registration open at the start of May. And I guess the tour price will be $25 and scholarships will be available for people.
It's actually open now, but
Okay. Well, we'll need to update some of that, but yes, it's open.
Awesome. And what was the limit, Lydia? Did you say the number of people that can attend this event?
So for the paddling tour, it's 28 people. And for the biking tour, it's about 30. We're hoping some people will bring their own bikes. We have about 22 bikes available. So people have the option to choose whether they want to use a rental bike or bring their own bikes.
Awesome. Awesome. This looks great. Thanks for coordinating. Anybody have any questions for Lydia? Okay, please help us and share the word, and looking forward to this field trip as we continue on with the Congress into these more active extensions this upcoming year. Thanks, Lydia, so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Ralph and Andrew, I see that you're on. I did not see Catherine or Gloria to go over our two programs here. So, Ralph?
Let me unmute myself first. Good morning, everyone. As Elizabeth said, I'm Ralph Schultz. I'm the Executive Director with the Forest Preserve District of Will County and a co-chair of the Excellence in Ecological Restoration Program. Every couple of years, we come back around to reintroduce ourselves in the program itself. We've been around since 2012. We are a creation of Chicago Wilderness. We've had 5 accreditation rounds since 2012, and we've accredited 30 sites across the region in the Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana area. If you want to jump to my next slide. Oh, go back. That's okay. They were all condensed for me. So the program itself recognizes organizations that successfully employ management practices in natural resource management and ecological restoration. If you are interested, or you know an organization that is interested in recognition from Chicago Wilderness and being accredited through the Excellence in Ecological Restoration Program, there are a few criteria that you need to meet. Sites must be owned or otherwise protected by a public or private agency dedicated to protecting lands with significant natural resources. The site has to have a natural area containing at least 100 acres. It must have been under active management for at least 5 years, and the applications themselves must be submitted by the legal owner of the property. Although if you work in partnership with the owner of that property, you can certainly assist in creating that application. We have three items of business that we need to take care of today, all related to the commission itself. And so the commission is made up of 7 to 9 members from Chicago Wilderness or Chicago Wilderness agencies. A total of 4 of our members on the commission right now, their terms expired as of December 31 of last year. And so we are making a recommendation to reappoint 2 of those members, Linda Masters with Open Lands and Lori Ryan with the McHenry County Conservation District. And I'm going to make that motion. And if we could get a second and just have that approved. Sorry, I took your job, Elizabeth.
Oh, you're doing great, Ralph.
Okay.
Go ahead, you move. Do we have a second?
I'll second. This is John Rodner.
Thanks, John. Go ahead, Ralph. You just do it. Here.
Okay, thanks, John. I'm assuming no one's opposed to that. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, thanks. Our next recommendation is to actually replace me on the commission with one of my colleagues here at the Forest Preserve District of Will County, Andrew Hawkins, who is our Director of Conservation Programs. And I will make that motion.
So moved by Michelle.
Okay, so Michelle is seconded and Ralph, you moved. So all those in
Okay.
favor? Motion?
Oh, yeah.
Any opposed? No. And lastly, this is not, we don't have to take action on this. Becky Collins has also, or Collins has also, her term has expired and she will not be renewing. So we will be seeking a replacement for Becky from any of our Chicago Wilderness organizations. If there are more than one, we do have actually 3 slots available, but we need at least 1. So if you are interested in serving on the commission, or you know somebody who's interested in serving on the commission, please feel free to contact Laura, myself, or Elizabeth. I will be sticking around with the commission through this accreditation year just to keep continuity. It takes roughly 12 hours of your time over the course of the summer. You get to do a few site visits, review some applications, and just basically coordinate with 7 to 9 professionals in our region and meet some of our land managers at our other agencies. So again, reach out if you're interested.
I'm putting the link for more information and for the form in the chat now.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, could I make a comment here? Ralph, I want to thank you for your years of service on this program. And I remember the origin of it. And it was a steering committee meeting, and George Rabb was concerned that land management wasn't getting was getting short shrift in terms of the focus of Chicago Wilderness, and in particular, the land management agencies. And I remember making a suggestion that I don't think was exactly this, but it's what it turned into. And you became the first leader of that. And I can't even remember how many years ago that was now, but you've had a steady hand on the tiller ever since, you and others, of course, but I associate you so much with this program. Thank you very much for all your years of leading this, and which has resulted in so many great sites being recognized and organizations being recognized over the years. And I've seen so many references that those organizations have made to the honor of being acknowledged under the Excellence in Ecological Restoration program. It clearly means a lot to those organizations, and they like to trumpet that fact, and it's great. It's what we should be promoting. So great program. And again, just thanks Ralph for your years of service on that.
Sure. Thank you, John. And you're quite welcome. I had a lot of assistance. I certainly didn't do anything on my own. Elizabeth was there in the beginning, and we worked on some of those things together.
That's right. Yep. Good.
And as well as some other talented people across the across the region. So again, it's been a pleasure to be a part of it.
I
Wonderful.
just wanted to chime in real quickly. For anybody who does not know me, I'm Andrew Hawkins. Like Ralph said, we work together, and I've been involved in the program kind of behind the scenes as well through the years. So sorry I wasn't here at the beginning. I was in another meeting and I jumped in about 20 minutes after the meeting began. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, for the introduction. Thank you, Ralph. And we're going to celebrate you and acknowledge and recognize you with more glory as we get to the end of the meeting here. And my personal thanks. Ralph has definitely been a champion. And John, thank you for sharing the great work that had gone on with this. Because I think, yeah, as a card started from the report card that moved to something where this idea was to provide all the levels through an accreditation process are amazing and exceptional. So even if you choose to move forward and you receive a bronze, which is the lowest level of the accreditation, all the way up to platinum, that gives the agency into control. And I believe a lot of the discussion I know that we've had in our organization, I was just having it and they're like, well, we got one more site that's platinum, but we're not submitting anything. And I'm like, okay, we gave that to the choice, right, of the organization that they could choose if they needed it to help boost up some support for resources and funding, or why it didn't meet that level. Well, these are the things you need to do. You need to invest in ecological restoration. You need to purchase more land. You need to follow like the GVI of these initiatives to help build that. But yes, all levels. So highly encouraged. I think it's a great public relations piece to take pride in the great work. And Ralph, you've done really well with managing the process, as does Becky. So again, we'll acknowledge you, but thank you for your work on that.
Yeah, if I could just follow up to Elizabeth on your point, I would encourage people to submit their sites regardless of where they are on the spectrum of bronze to platinum. We've made a decision in our organization to purposefully put forward projects that are in transition. So noting that we may get a silver or a gold accreditation, with the goal then to increase our inputs to rise to the platinum level. And you can seek reaccreditation after 5 years. And that is kind of the way that we're using the program to show our progression as a ladder of improvement.
Awesome. Awesome. So take the time and assess your sites and submit them. Thanks, Ralph, for that. And congratulations to Linda and Lori for continuing on, and Andrew, welcome aboard. Okay, Cherie, you're with us, and she's going to highlight, since I don't believe Catherine or Gloria are with us this morning, Cherie Fisher for the Dr. George Rabb Force of Nature Awards.
Oh,
Good morning. Oh, sorry. Is someone else talking?
no, please go. I think the slides got a little bit out of order. I'm going to go fix that, but there isn't a slide. Should we just go ahead and speak?
Okay, no worries. So I'm Cherie Fisher. I'm with the U.S. Forest Service. I'm the former chair of the Dr. George B. Rabb Force of Nature Awards. I stepped down this year, and we have two new chairs, Catherine Hu from the Field Museum and Gloria Orozco from the Friends of the Forest Preserves. So thank you to them for stepping into this role. A little bit of background on the awards. They started in 2017 and are offered in odd numbered years. So 2023 will be the fourth round of awards. The awards were named for Dr. George B. Rabb, I think in 2021 or maybe 2019. He was a longtime champion of conservation in the region and one of the founders and a champion of the Chicago Wilderness Alliance. The Force of Nature Awards celebrate work that is above and beyond the norm. So projects, people, programs that are inspirational, that provide an example for others. You can nominate sites for Force of Nature Award, and those especially under 100 acres that don't qualify for the Excellence in Ecological Restoration Program can be nominated through the Force of Nature Awards. The application process is pretty simple. It basically asks who you are, who you're nominating, and then why are you nominating them? And that why are you nominating them is really the meat of the application. And the applications are reviewed very seriously by teams of folks later this year, and they will make the decisions and recommendations to the steering committee about who to put forward for an award. So you do not have to be a Chicago Wilderness Alliance member to nominate someone or to be nominated, which is one of our favorite parts about the program, because it's open to anyone who's doing exceptional work that we want to highlight and celebrate, even if the person or the organization is not connected to the Alliance yet. Hopefully, by receiving an award or nominating someone for an award, someone will learn more about the Alliance in the process. I don't have the details about the timeline for the applications this year, the nominations. Laura probably has that, but generally we open up the nomination process in June. So we're not quite ready for that yet, but keep your eyes open for that announcement coming in a couple of months. And then the nominations are open through the summer.
It's okay. Like, sorry.
Oh, okay. No problem. Let's see what else. So since we have co-chairs for the program now, the call will go out for other Chicago Wilderness Alliance members who are willing to serve on the review committees. So this is a pretty concentrated lift of maybe 6 to 8 hours in September to review the nominations in one category, and then to meet with the team that's also reviewing for that category and make some decisions about award recommendations. I think that's about it. The awards for Force of Nature are also presented at the same time as the Excellence in Ecological Restoration Program certifications at a ceremony late in the year. That's also a Chicago Wilderness Alliance member celebration. So that is a feel-good event, I will say, that really puts forward great work being done in the region, both in the field of restoration and then beyond that through the Force of Nature Awards. So if anyone is interested in serving on one of the review committees for the awards, please contact Laura Riley or Catherine Hu or Gloria Orozco. I think that's it.
Great, thank you, Cherie, for your leadership as well on that. And we see a lot of slides going for, so they were here, they just got out of order here. So.
Sorry about that, everybody. And Ralph, I appreciate you putting these slides together. I will put these as part of the packet so people can learn more. And then we also have the link to our website for both the George B. Rabb Force of Nature Awards and the EERP. The EERP form is open now, and the Force of Nature Awards will be opening June 1st, and they will stay open until September 30th. September 30th. And then the awards ceremony will be November 30th. We're seeking a location for that. If anybody would like to host the awards, we did it last year at Thatcher Woods. We've done it at the Morton Arboretum and the Chicago Botanic Garden, but we'll be looking to find a location where we can come together and celebrate and have a partner appreciation event on November 30th. Thanks.
Thank you.
Maybe one more or two more. Thank you very much. Okay. Perfect. One more further, I guess, and then we'll be back on track. I appreciate everyone's patience. Sorry about this. Thank you, Lake, for your patience as well. I think these keep two more. There we go. Mark, do you have any updates on the hub that you'd like to share with us?
No, I think Brandon covered it before, but we remain in close touch with Bold Bison and tracking how all the initiatives come together in the hub. And I encourage folks to continue to check out the hub because there's a constant set of improvements. Also, a big shout out to Friends of the Chicago River for rolling out an amazing new tool that includes a number of metrics that I think would be of interest to the Chicago Wilderness Alliance, including some biodiversity metrics. So I know Adam is on the call here today, but I just want to note that and encourage folks to look for that. I'll put the URL in the chat.
Perfect.
Yeah, I would second Mark's comment about this new tool. It's kind of focused on the Chicago River area, or a little bit bigger, maybe Chicago and Des Plaines, but it could be the next step for rethinking the GIV that we had done several years ago. It really is a great tool and gets into a lot of things that the original GIV didn't, such as social equity and where we should be thinking about getting people green space. And so I think it's really, really a great tool. And I really think everybody should go in, log into it, play around with it, find out what's there, and then provide back to Mark and Mark any comments about it, or to the friends. It really is it was impressive to see it for the second time, and Amy at the Friends has done a really good job of marketing that out there. So I think it's a really good step forward that has caught us by surprise a little bit, but it's a really great surprise. And so I would encourage everybody to look at that. So kudos for the Public Land Trust and the Chicago River, Friends of the Chicago River, for getting that done.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Mark. Okay, Laura, where are we on the slides here? So I'm going to go back. Are we ready to, I don't know, Danny, did you have anything else before we leave? I know you had shared during Goal 5 presentation on the roadmap in the emerging professional series.
Yeah, just one more update from the Jedi Roadmap Committee is that we're in talks with a couple different folks about a second round of Jedi focused trainings for the Alliance. So we will have, hopefully kicking off this summer and going into the fall, another ideally a 5-part series expanding on some of the topics we touched on with Cream City conservation, but going in a bit deeper and looking in kind of the theme of this year is moving from conversation to action, I would say. So how we take some of these principles we've been learning about over the course of all these workshops and meetings and start really incorporating them into our different organizations as well as the Alliance as a whole. So super excited about that. There'll be more info on that as we continue to develop out those contracts and finalize those dates. So stay posted.
Thank you, Danny. Laura, please.
Thank you. I'll give a quick coordinators update. We can advance one more slide, Lake. That would be great. We have the City Nature Challenge. It's running April 28th through May 1st. Many organizations have organized a BioBlitz, and there's information on our website here about the locations, but we're just trying to help spread the word. And not everybody needs to be at one of these locations to do to capture data for the City Nature Challenge. Just going out and doing a BioBlitz in your own backyard or your nature center nearby, it will be captured in the Chicago region information and be part of the collected data. Last year, actually, I know that Mark Johnson noted that there was a uptick in iNaturalist sightings around the region during this period of time. So we know it's successful, and I encourage everyone to either join one of these City Nature Challenge events or get out there during April 28th through May 1st with their iNaturalist and capture some data around the region. Okay, next slide, Lake. We have a couple of upcoming cafes. They were mentioned earlier, but increasing equitable access to nature on May 4th. Then there's the building agricultural infrastructure in the Chicago Wilderness area to support sustainability. And another one that we haven't touched on, and it's occupational therapy supports for natural resource volunteers, that's being hosted by the Morton Arboretum in conjunction with Midwest University. So there's more information. I will drop that into the chat shortly, or it's on our website. Next slide. As was mentioned earlier, we did do an update to our government relations priorities and principles document. We have updated the form to allow for organizations, partner organizations, to request a letter of support for public funding opportunities. And here are some of the parameters that we work under: that you must be a partner in good standing. And ideally, you would help identify which Green Vision initiative your request fits under. But there's a template, and then you would just complete the form. It will be reviewed by the Government Relations Committee, and a letter will be approved and generated. And we have a fairly quick turnaround for that. So I just want to let people know about that, particularly in light of all of the federal funding that's coming down right now. I will drop the chat for that into the link, that link into the chat as well after this. Okay, and that's it for me. I think we're on to announcements.
We want to do recognition.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. No, all good, all good. So as you heard earlier during the meeting, we have 3 leaders of Chicago Wilderness Alliance that are leaving their posts as they've championed for numerous years on really critical work that the Alliance has been doing. So we just want to recognize and thank them collectively for their work. Cherie, she is still with the U.S. Forest Service, but has changed positions. So we are going to continue her engagement, and she will continue to be with us, but just not serving as she stepped down, and has cultivated new leaders. And that's what's great about all the leaders that we're recognizing, is not only did they champion their work and ensuring continuity, that it lives on in great effort and that it's added, but they are making way and space for others to step forward and to then take and lead with it into as we go forward through the Alliance. So Cherie, thank you so much. You've done amazing, not only with this, but we have to mention the work that she's done on the Conservation Congress and championing that, just amazing. And so I am just so grateful, and on behalf, and I'm sure all of us here recognize and thank you for all your service to the Alliance. So thank you. Yeah. And then Ralph Schultz, again, was there, has served not only as an executive council member through Will County and leveraging his staff and organization, but really leaned into seeing this way with the Excellence in Ecological Restoration program to create a system of ways to evaluate, to advance the biodiversity recovery plan and to put it into action, and has stayed with it, has been that continuity of force to keep that program moving and exceptional, and as a leader in that. So Ralph, thank you so much for your leadership and all your great work from the beginning in design. So appreciate you. And that, as well as Becky, who's not here. And Becky, as I rolled off, Becky stepped up. She served from the very beginning, and as we established the standards as well. And then Becky took the role of co-chair for the commission. So again, a thank you to Becky for her leadership and her involvement with the Alliance in that program. And so thank you to everybody. We appreciate you. We're not going to let you go far, though. Maybe we'll just keep you in a different role. But again, appreciate you bringing forward individuals. So thank you. Okay, next slide, please. Before we open the floor for announcements, I just have a few things that I do want to share with everyone. So we have 2 more meetings for the year. The July 19th, we've been doing these by Zoom. At this meeting, we'll have more to share with our progress and action that you heard about earlier. It is also, we will present our draft budget for the year. So with the teams or partners, as you're looking for things that you believe, as we're aligning to look into 2024, the time is now to share that with members of the steering committee so that we can sorry about that, my dial, we have a new phone system at the district, so things ring when my phone rings, my computer rings, my watch rings, everything rings. Can you guys hear that? What's going on? Okay, it's going away. So the July 19th is our budget. So if you have items that you want to have included, please get those to us, and then we will be working through that. Also, we'll be looking for nominations for the steering committee and recruiting individuals to step up and take some seats there. So that will be forthcoming. It's Earth Month. It's Earth Day every day. So again, there's a lot of activities going on. I also want to acknowledge Jerry Edelman. We did not recognize him today. He is in Washington Washington, DC, doing advocacy work, but you heard the recent announcement of his intention to leave his post with Open Lands. So we will acknowledge and recognize as more information is shared from Open Lands on that. And then lastly, I don't know if anybody's attending, and we'll share this too, Laura, off our website if we haven't, or on our post, is the White House has an Invest in Nature Summit. That's a live stream that's happening tomorrow from 12:30 to 3 o'clock Eastern time. So that would mean that is 11:30 our time here. So we can put those information out for anybody that's interested. They're going to talk about the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act. So that may be of interest to everyone about that. All right, I'll open the floor for announcements. Just jump in, raise your hand, and anybody have announcements? Okay, John, please.
Not an announcement, but a question. I'm looking at the future meetings here. Have we had any conversation about resuming in-person meetings or hybrid meetings, at least with these? And perhaps we have, and I've missed it, but I know there's more work involved with doing a hybrid arrangement, so there's difficulties there, but just thought I'd raise the question and see how people feel about it.
I do appreciate you bringing that up. I think that's something we should survey or get a poll here with the group that's present. I don't know if that would be just a soft poll, or we could do something to put something out to our members. Would that be of interest?
I think the July 19th meeting might be a good idea to have a in-person meeting and have a site to go to, and maybe have a little field trip and get some free time afterwards just to mingle. I think that's a good idea. I like John's suggestion.
Can I have and Victoria, I see your hand raised. I'll call on you next unless it's about this, but can I just see a show of hands and we can send and work towards that, maybe a hybrid approach, right? So we could still stream in as we're trying to reach a regional approach, but yet allow that face-to-face for those that want to connect, because I think there's great value when we're connected and can socialize. You can't do that in the Zoom space very well.
And I might suggest if we could find a place in Wisconsin, because we've never gone up there, and I don't think we've had an executive council meeting up there. Just a suggestion, not a necessity.
So show of hands, is there support to, and here I just lost my whole thing. Is there support of us exploring that and seeing if we can find a location? Here, I can see everybody. Thanks. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, we will put that on the list of exploration and look to plan something like that for the July meeting. Thank you, John, for bringing that up. Victoria.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you everyone for a rich and robust meeting this morning. I really enjoyed all of the updates. I want to share with everyone that the April Northwest Indiana Urban Waters Partnership meeting is tomorrow morning from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. There's a Zoom link I'd be more than happy to share with you. Please reach out by email. I'd also love to get you signed up for our newsletter if you're not already. It includes our meeting announcements and also funding announcements, including the new funding coming through the IRA, and lots of other opportunities and resources. So please reach out and connect, and I hope to see some of you on our partnership call in the morning.
Thank you, Victoria. Appreciate all the great work you're doing to keep Indiana and Nathaniel and others as well. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Any other announcements? Okay, seeing that. So, please, Tom.
I just have a quick question. You mentioned that White House summit tomorrow. And
yes.
Is there any information on that, or the title? I missed the title.
Yeah, it's the White House Invest in Nature Summit. It's a live stream that's taking place. I can put the link. I just have to type it in here. I can't double task here. Laura, I don't know if you've got something. I sent it off to you yesterday, but it goes from, so it'd be 12:30 to 3 Eastern time. So our time, it's 11:30 to 2. And they're going to be talking about the Inflation Reduction Act, the aggressive action to conserve and restore nature, provide communities the tools they need to be resilient and tackle climate crisis. The White House Invest in Nature Summit will bring together administration officials, academia, industry, nonprofits, philanthropies, and others to report on progress being made, underscore the importance of these ongoing efforts, and highlight the work ahead to drive even more progress. So we'll put that out
Okay.
there, maybe something to lean into if you're interested. So I will put that out there and we'll get that to you.
Thank you.
I apologize. I'm looking through my email string, but I cannot find it. But I will keep searching for a second here.
All right, well, while we're on here, I'm going to see if I can do it and put this in with my link here. So let me double task before we adjourn here. Anything else for anyone to, let's see here. Otherwise, we can take a motion to adjourn. I have to find my email.
Yeah, the Healthy Lands Group is meeting next week. I think Laura put that in the chat, but if anybody's interested in that, I believe it's Tuesday, but I'm not positive. And then I would motion to adjourn.
I'm putting this in. Hold on a second here.
Yep,
Jim.
yep.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate it.
Tasking here and trying to find it on my screen here. Okay, everyone. Okay, there's the link. It's a YouTube link for the live stream.
I see. Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Cherie. Thank you. Winton dropped a clean energy workforce development training in the chat as well. I appreciate everyone's help finding this great information, and we'll get it into our calendar and push it out through social media today.
Terrific. All right, so a motion to adjourn. Did someone move that, Jim? Did you move that?
I moved that. Yep.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second, Mr. John.
John, thank you so much. All right, so we have a first and a second. All those in favor, motion by saying aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Those opposed? Okay, we are officially adjourned. We will see steering committee